Okay. Oh,
So looks like
hey,
we're
Marlon.
recording.
Hey.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. It's 3 minutes after, and we'll try and keep it to the half hour. It's getting towards the end of the month. So, all right, guys. Stuart is going to take us through his version of the executive demo, and just like last time, let's obviously hold questions until the end, and then let's be prepared to give him the feedback that's going to help him continue to develop the skill of the executive demo. So, Stuart, I'll let you.
All right, perfect. So the setup for this is just, hey, I'm on a call with a customer, and the conversation's kind of led to the idea that ducking into the system for a quick review makes sense. So with that, we'll start. Right, so from the beginning, everything that we do at NetSuite kind of implores businesses to think differently. We challenged the status quo 20 years ago to leverage the cloud, and we just happen to deliver business applications with the promise of reduction of processes, real-time visibility, and cost savings. So now with 20 years of experience, we leverage what we call our suite success methodology. And what that means is that what you get out of the box is a software application that's pre-configured with leading practices and allows you to kind of hit the ground running. So my role is to collaboratively determine if we have a potential solution for you, and if we don't, I'll tell you. But so let's duck into show you some of the high-level features, and if it makes sense afterwards to do a deep dive, we can certainly schedule that as the next step. But as we look at some of this high-level functionality, I'd also like you to think about the value it can bring to your organizations. There's kind of 5 big bucket values of OpenAir. 1 is automating a process. 2 is adding to business intelligence. 3 is adding efficiency to your daily workflow, adding real-time visibility, and allowing you to make proactive versus reactive decisions. So as we go through this, kind of keep those in mind. I'll try to point them out as we hit the spots, but keep those in mind. So does that make sense? Take that as a yes. So let me share my screen. And so can you see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, good. So what you're looking at here is my home dashboard, which is totally customizable. These workflow tiles at the top, there's messages to broadcast general information. They're all customizable for the specific user. So I'm logged in as Catherine Glass, and you can think of Catherine as a project executive with full admin rights. Everything in OpenAir is totally rules-based, so each individual user is given access to the various and appropriate modules that you kind of see down the left-hand side here. So for example, as consultants may just be entering time and expense, but project managers will have full access to resource management that you see here. So as we go through this demo, I'm going to walk down through this at a high-level process. So the dashboards are highly configurable, easy to use, and kind of a click, not code configuration. Users can set up their dashboards with information that's relevant to their daily workflow. So importantly, you have immediate access to anything that's workflow driven. So you can see here that Catherine has reminders and statuses for things that she needs to do today or tomorrow. So I also have a dashboard. This dashboard is customizable with pre-configured portlets. So you can see at the top there's a financial overview, there's a project overview, and a staffing overview. I'm in the staffing overview, and I have a resource management perspective heavily focused on utilization. Here I can see all the key metrics that I want to stay up with, whether it's forecast utilization on a monthly or weekly basis, target utilization, and a key here, and one of the values is real-time visibility and the ability to have a proactive versus kind of reactive decision making. Or you can get a quick sense of resource supply and demand. This available FTE forecast tile is a critical view that most of our customers don't have before using OpenAir. So am I going to have enough resources? Am I going to have too few resources? Of course, these reports are just a snapshot. Anytime I can click into them and dive into a more granular level. And so now this is, once it comes up, is a deep dive into your bench. You can look at all the data behind the tile and drill down by job code. You can see here, I can drill down into the analyst view and see where I might have a shortfall. in October for analysts. So now let's switch over to projects. And in progress, you can see that we have multiple project life cycles along the top of the chart. And so pre-sales, for instance, we can integrate with your CRM to initiate the formulation of a predetermined project prior to it actually closing. So you can be proactive relative to resource needs. The CRM's job isn't to track opportunities, but once they get low in the funnel, we can start working on it so we can hit the ground running. We also have a pending stage that the sale may have been closed, but the project's not started. And we also leverage templates over here to the right, where you can create a new project. You're not starting from scratch, rather you're using a pre-built based on best practices. And again, getting back to the values, we've got process automation and efficiency. There's also a section where you can gain insight into internal projects, and specifically for utilization, these are non-client facing to track time off, travel, training, etc. And again, the value here is you're capturing all the work that your people are doing and building significant. So this view here is a good portfolio view of all your projects. And let's take a look at a specific project called ERP deployment. So as we select that, let's first take a look at project properties. And in project properties, this is where you get a quick view of the general information about the project, the name, the status, the time, the project approvals that are needed, etc. As we navigate to the outline view, this shows your work breakdown schedule for the project. And here you can easily, once it loads, here you can easily roll up or roll back the view depending on what details of the project you need to see. So here, like all these portlets, we can roll down and dig into the place that's important for us as we are working. You can also see a Gantt view. If you are more of a visual person, all this can be configured to see a Gantt view. But importantly, this information is set and comes pre-configured, but can be easily adjusted or amended for the view of the specific user. So before we leave here, one last thing from this view, we can see a quick financial analysis of the project, which gives you a real-time snapshot into income, incurred costs, profits, budget, etc. So now let's go into and take a look at resources. And if I look at my planner view, this is actually one of the most robust portions of the application. This is where you can pick the right person at the right time for the right project. It's where your folks are today, where they are in the future, and any future gaps in utilization. So let's take an example of Larry, who's the project manager, and Joe, who's a consultant. This screen single-handedly stops Larry from hoarding Joe in the Monday morning meeting. That can happen when you're using manual disparate systems. And to be clear, I'm not throwing Larry under the bus. It's totally human nature to hedge your needs when you want to be sure that a resource you want is going to be available. The problem occurs when Larry might forget that he had Joe for more time than he actually needed and forgets to adjust the spreadsheet, and now the whole system is off. So in this case, it produces a definable gap in utilization. So in the example, you think Joe is 50% booked, but he's actually 40% booked. This means that you left 10% of Joe on the table. Now, the benefit here obviously is an immediate uptick in billable utilization, profit, as given here by this real-time visibility. So this resource planner view is where I can really drill into what everybody's working on, and you can see the real-time utilization. And over by this legend, you can see it's color-coded for easy access. I can sort this by multiple configurations. If I just want to take a look at my analysts, I can easily roll it up to an analyst, see the analyst, see where they're doing, see who's busy, who's not, and who has availability. Now, if I need to find resources, I can do that a couple of different ways, but I'm going to go to Advanced Research, search here. And so the Advanced Resource search tools where you can select from established searches. So I've got one selected here called ERP Project Managers. And again, this is the value here is efficiency and process management automation. So that search pulled up people based on those search parameters. But from here, I can add things like if I want to add availability from the 25th to the 31st, I can easily do that. Or I can even add skills and experience. If I want to add, and this is all things that you build along the way, but if I need somebody with a beginner JavaScript, I can easily add that here and do a new search. And it's going to pull up people that are based on those search parameters for this particular need. So you note here that there's a couple here, Judy Davis, Carol, Marie, might be interesting people for this project. I also have access to a compare view where I can easily compare different resources on a side-by-side to see how they compare with each other. It's easy enough to add resources. So for instance, if I want to add Judy Davis here, I can add this resource to compare 3 along the top here. So for the next part, let's log in as a consultant. And so I'm going to go here and proxy into somebody else. I'm going to select Abby Kwan. And Abby is a consultant, and you can see here she's got her own dashboard that looks different than Catherine's. And it includes only things on the left here that she has access to. So she has portlets that are set up for her, and you can see that she has an open timesheet. So if I select the open timesheet, I can go in and enter a timesheet for Abby. Simply select the time range. I'm going to select the project, select the task, and start entering hours as we go. I can also importantly add comments here, and the sample and the comments are can go to the manager. If I could type, you go to the manager. If I could type, they can go to the manager, or they can even actually go up to the invoice level. But also, I can select internal time off. So this is another way where I can track the total utilization. So I'm going to save this. Along the week, I can go through here and just save it along the way. And when I'm done, I can save and submit it for when I am done with the week, and it will go through the proper phases that are set up for the plan. So if she needs to go from here and create an expense report, I can go to this global create button. And importantly, this global create button follows my path through the process. So if I was working in resources, this global create button would access resources. But in this case, I want to create a new expense report. And here I can do an October report. Again, typing. And I can select this and save this and go along the way. So let's leave Abby here and go back to Catherine's login as project manager and take a quick look at billing. And so we just added these billing timesheet entry items for Abby. So we can see here that here's the billing items that we can use that time and expense inputs we just reviewed for Abby, as well as other billing events. And then finally, when it comes to reporting, we have over 80 leading practice pre-configured reports built on the back of our 20 years of experience of major reporting needs. So there are timesheet management, resource management, invoice management, and there's a number of reports here that you can use. You can edit them, you can create your own, and you can also schedule the delivery of those reports to automate the process and export the data to other systems as needed. So that's a quick overview of the OpenAir platform, and question is, did that hit the mark and look like something that you could that could be helpful for your business? And if yes, maybe we could schedule deeper dive demo to show you more of the value and features that OpenAir can provide. And that's all I got.
So let's see, that went 15 minutes. I thought you were going to go longer than that, given where you were 3 minutes ago. So yeah, that was really good, Stuart. So let's start. Let's go around the horn and get some feedback to him. I'm sure you guys have some comments.
Hey, Stuart, let me go first because I have to jump off in about 12 minutes for another call. Blew me away. I love the fact everything you showed, you added at the end, the value of what you just showed. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So what you're really saying is, look, here's the feature and here's the benefit. And you did that every single time. It just added so much value to what you were doing. It's like, I'm not just showing you this great feature, but here's what you're going to get out of it. Really impressed with that. You know, when you showed the little finance chart for that project, you can't, I don't know if you're teasing us, you just showed it and moved on. I don't know, I think it's a big selling point. Marlon will tell you that. I don't even show that anymore. But me, it's, if you're going to show that, I think you really value, you talk that up. You know, here's a single click view of the financial state of your project. There you go. You don't have to do anything else. It's all there. You know, cut and paste it into a PowerPoint. So I was spending a little bit more time on that.
That makes sense.
Finally, I'm sorry, I'm not kind of rushing you. Last thing I want to say is you went to my favorite thing, the chart, and you said it's one of the most robust features in NetSuite. That's funny because when I use that phrase, I mean, it's because everything else is broken, but this thing works. So I don't know if that's how you meant it, but I know what you were trying to say. It's one of the highlights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way you introduced it. But yeah, no, very impressive and amazing you've come. You've done so well in such a short time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, great comments, Joe. I agree with everything. Who else has feedback for Stuart?
Phil. Hey, Stu.
Howdy.
So what were you saying like 2 weeks ago about how you weren't really sure about having a good grasp on the functionality of this product? Holy cow. Yeah, you have a very good grasp of this product. So very, very awesome job. Right time, or use the phrase right person, right time, right project. I'm going to start using that. Like as soon as you said it, I was like, wow, that's perfect. Of course, I've heard it in other contexts before, but right where you used it is absolutely perfect. So I'm going to steal that one from you. But yeah, I feel like you went into some detail that, like, for me, if I compare it to what I did, I didn't go into that much detail. Now, after seeing the way you delivered it, I think I have to start thinking about that a little bit more. I think maybe sometimes we do need to find a time to get into a little bit more detail than just, the brush over, which you did a very good job of it. So kudos.
Thank you.
Hey, Stu, this is Dave. I'd like to just jump in real quick and say you did a great job, echo everything that both of them said. Something I really liked you did, you brought in a real life scenario where you brought in a resource. It was short. We need so-and-so versus so-and-so. I was just, I think in my opinion, that brings the viewer into the story and kind of connects with them and makes them think. So really like how you did that. And I think you did a great job.
Thanks.
I heard you say a lot of this is Marlon. I heard you say a lot of things that I do, and I'm not taking any credit for how well you did, but I'm just curious where some of that stuff came from.
Yeah. So there are a couple YouTube demos right out there, and I watched as many as I could find and took words that I liked and kind of made a script and practiced and put a flow together that made sense. So they may be some of your words. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I was messaging Robert, and I said, there are some areas that you went to that I probably wouldn't in an executive demo, but I'm super impressed with how far along you've come, because I know you're kind of coming from a different place than guys like Zoran or Matt, who have that sort of PS8 background. I'm looking at you, you're going into the advanced resource search, you're playing with the skills. I was waiting for you to bring up the compare view and start doing that sort of thing. So yeah, hats off. I think you did a really solid job.
Thanks.
Hey, Marlon, just to expand on that, given your background as a demo expert, what are the areas that you wouldn't recommend going into, maybe without more training, or where do you see as the pitfalls? And just expand on that comment that you made a little bit.
Yeah, so the advanced resource searches, I mean, it maybe sounds a little bit more complicated than it really is, but I mean, that might bring you down a rabbit hole because there's a lot of information on that screen and someone might catch you off guard. But I mean, it's a really nice view. I mean, if you can learn that screen and the ins and outs of it to whatever extent, I mean, it can provide a really powerful message. Just in general, in terms of areas that I would, potentially stay away from. I don't think Stuart went there today. Like, you could maybe get caught here a little bit, and this view does need a little bit of tailoring to make it perhaps a little bit more demo friendly because there is a lot of stuff on it. So certainly it could be what some of the SCs do is they simplify this view. They get rid of a lot of the columns to make it, I guess, dumb it down just a shade. I don't think, like I said, I don't think Stuart went to areas that I wouldn't really touch. What I was saying a little bit earlier is that there were areas that were, I felt a little bit too detailed. Like you start to show how to create an expense report and that sort of thing. And I don't think you probably need to do that, but I'm impressed that you did and you're comfortable enough with the product to be able to do that sort of thing because that's really getting into the nuts and bolts of the system. But I don't know if that's something that you'd show.
I was just trying to think of pulling the thread of, and then go into the billing or whatnot. But one of the questions I had as I was playing around with this is, and I did shorten a couple of these columns here, but I've seen in a couple of demos that if you add this action column and you put it, and I just don't know how to do it. A lot of times this action column is up on the top here, and then you can enable the comparison view directly from here. But I just don't know how to do that. I thought that was, when I saw it, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I want to try to do that, but I couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, that compare view is nice. I mean, if Ron was on the phone, I mean, his thing is about showing differentiating features, and the compare view is one of them. Because it kind of allows you to get into a talk track about, creating different cost scenarios and allocating the right resources at the right time based on the right cost conditions and that sort of thing. So there is a lot of value there, but you'd probably want to be a lot more comfortable with the product before kind of getting into that sort of thing.
Agreed. And one other thing, just before I forget, on this compare view, when I pull it up, there's different information up in these top tiles, and one of them that I liked was their billing rate. And so you can see somebody was a $150 to $200 guy, and the other guy was a $300 guy, and so you could use that as kind of a quick decision making. So I just don't know if my demo instance, if I could edit it or all that kind of stuff, because I thought that was when I was thinking.
There's just a security feature. Yeah. You can even drag and drop. You can, if you grab Judy, and you can drag her to being the second one, and then you can close them down. So the talk track is, you can create a little short list here, and that's what the whole view is all about. It's, that sort of thing. But I thought you did a really, really good job. Yeah.
Real quick, just to make sure everyone is clear on that, there's a big difference between doing an executive demo and a driven demo. So we do not need to get in and create differentiation when we're doing an executive demo, right? We're trying to get them to take the next step. We're qualifying, we're prospecting essentially there, right? We're putting things out in front of them where we can ask additional questions, but we don't necessarily have to jump in and start trying to differentiate from competition, because again, we're at the beginning of the process and it's a quick demo, and it's really easy to get caught in a trap that way. And I would recommend staying away from it. But knowing this information, you know, on the front end, and this is what we've talked about, why I want you guys to know this at a more detailed level than just an executive demo, because if you know OpenAir can do this, right, and you know the problem that it solves, when you're engaging with the client on the front end, you can ask questions that will lead them down this path, expose a potential problem they have in this area, put some dollars to fixing it, and then when you get into the demo, right, you can start solving that problem. So knowing that we can fix these types of things for clients should allow you to ask those questions on the front end, create the situation that needs to be fixed, and then we can prove it out in the demo. So it's setting the stage for something that's going to happen 2 or 3 steps down the way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, so Stuart, I thought you did a great job on multiple fronts here. I mean, I was really impressed with the level of detail you were getting into. I mean, it was starting to get into really a mini demo, more than an executive demo, until you wrapped it up nicely at the end. But I thought one of the things you did that I didn't hear necessarily anyone else do was setting the expectation on the front end of what they were about to see. You know, this is a short demo. This isn't, you qualified kind of what you were about to do, so that, that's a great way of keeping the client from wanting to dive too deep and just saying, hey, I'm just going to take you to a real high level. I thought that was great. I thought you did a great job just identifying kind of 5 areas that you were going to hit on. And then calling those out as you were going through. I think that also can keep the flow going. And then the other thing I thought you did really well was you used the navigation on the side as your workflow. I mean, you went through, that day in a life, kind of a mini golden thread where you started with the dashboard, then you went to projects, and then resources, and then time, and you wrapped it up with reporting. I mean, you follow one of the things that I used to do a lot. I think everyone has their own style, but I never really showed reports in executive demos. I just talked about it and showed the list just to let them know that it was there. And I think that keeps you out of trouble as well.
Right.
You hit on the wow factors, I thought, which was great. The resource management, you called that out. It's one of the areas that's extremely robust in the system. And, I think it's important to show some of the eye candy when we can in these executive demos to get them excited. And then using the scenarios was great too. I texted Galen. I was like, hey, how much did you coach Stuart on this? Because he's doing a great job. Stuart's really good at, and I noticed this when he interviewed, he's good at leveraging the resources that he has available to him. And so, that's why I was wondering how much Galen helped you with all of this, because, I would hope, given you're as close to him as you are, that he would have, because you had the right flow, you hit on the right points. The only thing I would caution is just, like Marlon said, is you don't want to get too deep into the functionality and start clicking unless you know and you're confident that what data is going to show up.
Right.
And what areas might be lagging. Like you clicked, I think, pulling up the project outline view, there was that lag and it kind of waited a little bit. Those are things that if you can avoid, you want to stay away from. But
yeah, so it's funny, those took way longer during the demo than they did when I was doing a practice. But one of the things that I figured out just by practicing that others may want to do if they duck out into Abby Kwan, if they go to a different user from this screen, when I wanted to go back to Catherine, there was like 5 or 6 clicks. I had to go to resource or I had to go to projects, in process, pick ERP to get back to that billing. And I instead just had it open. I had it open in a tab up above, so that I didn't have, I saved myself 6 clicks for the demo by just going to a tab that I already had open, just as a preparation. That helped me as I was going through it.
That's an advanced solution consulting trick. Switching between windows, right, Marlon?
You got it.
Yeah. So Stuart, I thought you did a great job. I mean, what I would recommend is, fine-tuning the workflow and try and keep it, instead of a couple areas, I think in resources, you went 2 or 3 levels deep, unless the client is asking for that, and that's something specific that will drive the point home. I would pull up a layer just to be safe, kind of keep them wanting more. I think Marlon or someone had mentioned when you pull up the time card or expense card, that you certainly don't need to do both. You can just let them know that it's there. But again, have that value prop around the time card, ease of use. It's always good to, if you want to show them, as long as you know your data and what's going to happen, But yeah, I was getting a little nervous at one point. I thought you were going to start digging into the rules and, but I thought you
Oh, no, I showed you everything I know, just so you know. Don't ask me any deeper questions because I went to the limit.
Yeah, honestly, I'm fishing for some critical feedback, but I thought, if you had given that to a client, if you package that up, you'd be good to go. You could do that every time. That's an executive demo. I think you could add some stories to it and, some specific value points with clients you've worked with and things like that. But even there, I think you pulled in, you mentioned, the supply and demand report, and clients don't typically have this, and this is the problem they struggle with. And I thought you did a great job pulling up the supply and demand report and highlighting the negative 0.63 or whatever that was, and saying, hey, this is where there's going to be a shortfall. An executive can visualize that, and they can also, work it out in their head about how much time it takes them to do that today versus what you just showed them. And then wrapping it up, I think you were the first one to kind of playing the role, talking about next steps, asking if they liked what you'd shown them, and talking about, hey, if you like what you saw, let's take the next step. And I think that's, we always want to be doing that as well, figuring out, what is the next step, and not just leaving it and, hey, get back to us if you're interested, but, asking those questions on the back end. So, man, great job. Great job. Okay. We're a little bit over time, but any other feedback for Stu?
Hey, Stu, it's Matt. Yeah, overall great. Agree with a lot of what the other guys said. I did feel you were digging a little bit deep. Hello. So a couple of times I felt, you went a little bit deep for exec, but I think maybe you're just showing knowledge. I liked a couple of things like Phil commented on, right person for the right project at the right time. I've heard that. I think I heard that on another demo, and liked that. One other thing that you said that I liked as well was click, not code. That stood out early on. I know Robert wants a negative. You started out really fast. I felt like I was struggling to keep up with where you were going and all that. And I've been working on mine, but just the speed at which you were navigating some of the reports and dashboards, I think you could have slowed that down a little bit, and just given us a little.
That makes sense. I think it's not natural yet, right? It's just
but you totally, I would say 6-7 minutes in, that kind of changed, and then I think you were just in your groove, and then the speed seemed okay. So I think, just at the very beginning, it just felt a little bit rushed. But really that was it. I liked a lot of the stuff you did. I might steal. I was planning on showing the advanced resource search because I've seen that get some really good responses from clients. But what I did like is that you pre-built one, because I think, as you go down having to click things, I think that adds a whole bunch of delay. So I kind of like the fact that you had a pre-built one ready to go. I think that made a lot of sense. And then, you digged into the financials, but you didn't talk about the financials, but someone already mentioned that. And then the last thing I liked as well was showing it. I don't know if you need to show it or just talk about it, but the fact that when somebody else logs in as a consultant or someone else, they get a different view. They get the things that are important to them rather than the things that are important to you. So you're getting the 35,000 foot view. They need to be into the meat and potatoes of entering timesheets and so forth. So I liked that you did a change of login, and I did notice you clicked a different tab. Smoke and mirrors, I think, is what that's called. It's not called an SC trick, but anyway. But yeah, good overall, man. I liked it.
Thank you.
Right. Well, Stu, I would encourage you to go back and review the recording and fine tune.